Daniel Kim on the CDG podcast. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, Yossi. It's super exciting to be here.
Really pumped to have you on. We're coming off what we just had. We called it a Dealer Data Day on Daily Dealer Live. And it was all about CDPs, dealership data, why should I care? So I feel pretty prepared for this conversation.
Awesome.
Daniel, you are quite an enigma, and I don't say that lightly. Former consultant, worked on Auto Trader, actually. That's pretty interesting. We'll talk what that means even. Founded two companies that many in our industry have heard of, many use currently. Orbi, Carmigo, you were the founder, and I'd like to understand your founding story there. Today, you're the director of operations, and so I don't butcher the name. Sorry, Barnes Crossing Auto Group. So
that's right,
Mississippi. So you've had and you grew up in Indonesia. So, anyways, clearly I did my homework and read about you. But just tell us a little bit about. Let's start with you yourself before we get into to all the fun stuff, right? Who's Daniel Kim? Tell us a little about your upbringing.
Yeah. So in terms of Indonesia, so I was a son of a Korean missionary. So my father, a long time ago, decided to go to the most remote place in Indonesia, in the Borneo Island, which is the biggest island in Indonesia. And he dragged our entire family there when I was 2 years old. So when we got there, we had no electricity, no running water, and just kind of grew up in the jungles, essentially. Since then,
what age was that?
Until 10, yeah. So at 10 years old, I came to the U.S. I came to California because my mother eventually said, that's enough. My kids need a good education. So I ended up in the U.S., got my MBA at Wharton, and that's just kind of how I got started.
From no running water in Indonesia to working in the auto business in the U.S., that's like a very stark transition. So kind of please tell us more about your story. Like I want to lead up to that. But one quick question is, you as someone coming from those types of beginnings, what was your drive? I mean, you said you went to Wharton. That's not an easy feat to even get accepted, let alone complete a Wharton degree. Like, tell us a little bit more about your just personality. What drove you to, go down that path?
Yeah. First of all, graduating from Wharton is actually not that difficult, as one might assume. It's the getting in part, but I think just my parents, they had a really strong work ethic, and they just always expected me to try to be the best at whatever I did. So I've always kind of worked hard. There isn't kind of this like, hey, I'm going to like some mantra I live by, but I try to do the best in everything that I do, and I think that's why I got to go to Wharton as one of the things.
So tell us about your first exposure. By the way, had some very fun times at parties at Penn Frats and whatnot. So shout out to University of Pennsylvania. I didn't go to UPenn, but I did party there. So that's my stamp of approval.
Awesome.
At some points. Tell me a little bit about your first venture into automotive. Not your first venture, but you were at Bain Consulting. I read that about you, and you had worked. You were retained by Auto Trader to work under acquisition to Cox Automotive. And just can you give us the background there? I want to understand what that experience was like.
Yeah. So I kind of accidentally fell into automotive. After Wharton, I was a consultant at Bain, and it happened to be that our first client that I worked on was Auto Trader. So this was before, I think, before Cox Automotive, right? So I think Chip Perry and Steve Greenfield, which are both still in the industry today, legends, they hired us to do all of the post-merger integration work after they had just bought Vin Solutions, Kelley Blue Book, Viato, HomeNet. So I kind of got a first-hand experience of what automotive tech was all about that served that served dealers. And from looking at all these companies, I just kind of realized, wow, these guys are making a lot of money and being sold for a lot of money. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I ended up starting my own company.
So, and what company was that?
Orbi.
Okay.
That's right.
So tell us about that transition. So you're at this point in your life, I'm going to guess it's like the mid 2010s. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're exposed to automotive.
Yeah.
And you see an opportunity, which goes to become Orbi. So tell us, what was that opportunity?
At Auto Trader, one of the companies that we actually looked at was Carvana, because they were also based out of Atlanta. So we looked at them, and then I remember seeing, they used to have those. I mean, they still do, but the 360 widget, or where you could actually see the 360 view of the car. I think they might have been one of the first ones that started that technology. That's right. So I looked at it and I was like, well, I should probably try to do that for car dealerships, like just, regular franchise car dealerships. It's so funny, right? As an entrepreneur, sometimes not knowing is the courage you need to start something. Because I didn't even know this type of technology already existed back then. So I went to the nearest university, found a bunch of engineers, which was in UC Irvine, because I lived in Irvine, California. Made a product that kind of worked, and our first customer was CarMax. Not customer, sorry. Wow. Our first demo was with CarMax.
Okay. That's a big whale to pull for the first customer.
Yeah, right. I think it was just sheer stupidity, or just not knowing what was out there. But that's how we got started. Obviously, that's not what Orbi is today. We went through this phase of trying to become a 360 type photo widget for dealers, to doing a lot of analytics. I think we first made our big splash when we detected a lot of bot traffic. This was back in like 2016. We got published with PCG, Brian Pash. And then that's kind of how we got put on the map. And now today, Orbi is essentially a CDP. I think we were probably one of the first companies to talk about a CDP, probably circa 2017, 2018. Wow. And so to my surprise, when I see the industry today, I'm like, wow, everybody has a CDP.
Tell me about, I want a quick pause there, but what do you currently do as director of operations at the dealer group?
Yeah,
you come from a very tech background. I think operations, I think slinging metal or reconning cars. So what does your scope comprise of?
Yeah, so I work at our corporate office. We're a dealership of 16 rooftops, and my main responsibilities, digital marketing, right? Because that's kind of my background, and then also handling the BDC department, and then also vendor management. So those are kind of the three big buckets that I look at. I'm a little less involved in kind of less of like a platform director type person, where we're digging into the weeds and trying to make, trying to look at salespeople and things like that.
Yeah. Before we get deeper into your day-to-day now and what you're working on, what did it, at being a vendor, literally building technology for dealerships, like what did that teach you before you actually became a retailer? Okay. As a vendor, what challenges for dealerships were you exposed to? Like, what were you seeking to fix? Because today you're literally running the technology for many stores, and so I'm trying to understand: were there any major themes that you noticed that, hey, these are the areas where I really think dealers need support? Dealership technology, in many cases, is not great, and so I'm curious to know what stood out to you the most in terms of challenges and opportunities, conversely, within the space, being on the vendor side.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the biggest issue is the lack of resources you have sometimes. Whether you're a single store or single rooftop dealership, or even at our scale at 16 rooftops, you don't have a lot of technical capabilities. So trying to really help dealers almost become a part of their an extension of their staff, and really drilling down deep and figuring out where opportunities lies. I think that was the biggest lesson I learned, and that's where you can add the most amount of value for the dealerships that you work with as a vendor.
Okay, now talk to us about present day. What are you focused on nowadays? We talk lots about voice AI, text AI, customer data platforms, right? My data being clean, which, why does that matter to me as a dealer? Well, it matters because I'm going to get more bang for my buck when I'm targeting customers, when I'm doing outreach, and you could tell us more about this. But there's so much happening at once. Dealers have sort of turned from selling these, pieces of metal to being technologists. It's pretty crazy when you think about what drives this business nowadays. And so back to you, like, what are you focused on in your role now, day to day?
Yeah, I think two things. One, AI, right? I mean, how many times do we talk about AI also on Car Dealership Guy, right? So currently we have AI agents. So we have a centralized BDC at Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and we use AI agents to be the first line of communications for all the customers who put in leads or who submit a lead to our dealership. And then the second thing is around ownership of data. I think there's been a lot of talk around CDPs and using data to leverage yourself, right? And I think our industry has done a pretty good job in finally getting other vendors to give dealers access to their own data. So I think we've kind of gone through that change. Now it's out there, but there's a lack of coordination between all of the data that all the different vendors are pulling, right? So one of the things that we're working on at Barnes Crossing Auto Group is building our own data warehouse, where we bring in all of the data from all the vendors that we work with, and then being able to normalize it, do some data hygiene, identity resolution, things like that, and then being able to then use that data to have a coordinated effort in reaching out to your customers, as well as planning and strategy for the dealership, while we control the data that is ours, right? So I think those are the two things that I'm working on right now.
Okay, so you're trying to get access to all your data. Mm-hmm. Is this, how difficult is this? You're mid-process, clearly. I mean, you're doing it now. For a dealer that's listening that maybe hasn't started, or maybe has, but how challenging is it really? It sounds silly, right? It's your data. Of course you have access to it, but things are always more complicated than they seem. So tell us about that process.
Yeah, I think for the majority of the main CRM and DMS vendors, for the most part, there is a way to extract data, right? So I think that part is not as difficult. I think the most difficult part is actually then normalizing it in a way that you can use it. And I'll give you an example, right? When you get a dump of data, first of all, it's just all in different tables, right? So you might have a table for salespeople, table for all the cars that you sold, table for all the stores, and so on and so forth. And if you don't map the data or create any kind of relationships between all the different data points, then there isn't really a way to use it. And this kind of comes back to the difficulties that a lot of the dealerships face, because how many dealerships do you know, Yossi, that actually uses or has their own data scientist at their dealership?
Not many.
Not many, right? So I think that is kind of the hardest part of what I've been kind of facing as on the vendor side, because back at Orbi or at Carmigo, I had a group of developers that I can go to and say, hey, these are some of the things I need to get done, versus now I don't have that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how did you go about this process? How are you doing it today? You said you don't have those resources. You said that's a challenge. So what's been your solution?
Yeah, so it's been about relying on the vendors that are willing to be the right partner with you. I think that's been kind of the biggest learning that I've had. It's a lot harder to, even though our dealer principal, he's great, he's very supportive, he's a great businessman. Try to go to him and tell him, hey, we need to hire a data engineer for $150,000 to $200,000 a year is a pretty difficult sell. And also on the same on that point, even if you hire that person, who's going to manage that person, right? So the next kind of place that I looked at was, who are some of the vendors who aren't just there to sell a product to me, but who is willing to actually build out some of the things that we wanted to do as a dealer group, right? So
Okay.
that's what I've been relying on.
So give us the plugs. We want all the details. So let's go. Give us like step by step. Like, who are you working with today? How are you working with them? Right. Let's start with the names. Who are you working with today?
Yeah, so in terms of the CDP or the AI, so AI agents, currently we're working with Impel. We just got off of a bake-off, a Pepsi challenge, where we did a pretty exhaustive kind of RFP of all the AI solution providers that were out there, like Matador, Numa, Podium. And we did a bake-off with another vendor versus Impel. And we just recently made a decision to have all of our chat agents or AI chat agent to be with Impel.
So, would you say a bake-off? It's not. I don't think it's something that it's very common wording in the dealership world. What did you actually do? So you ran. I understand the context. You ran ran an RFP process, right? Like a shopping process here, a comparison.
Yeah.
But how did you actually do this?
So, the problem I have with the RFP process, even if you did, let's say, 2 or 3 demos and spent 4 hours on a product demo, you never really understand how the product works or what the product is about. Maybe you get, I would say, maybe 25% to, if you're lucky, maybe 50%. But you really don't know how the product works. So what we did was we split up the stores. Half of them got Impel, and another half got a different solution.
No way.
And we set up metrics on what dictated success, and we just kind of let it roll.
But how do you actually do this? Like, practically speaking, it doesn't take 10 minutes to implement one of these tools. So practically speaking, how do you actually do this, right? Even, like I said, we just had Ryan Rohrman on the podcast, 20-something stores, Rohrman Auto Group, and he was talking about, spending a year and a half on his CDP implementation process, cleaning up his data. So how are you able to be so nimble and run this kind of dual track process where you have 2 separate platforms powering your dealerships? How do you actually do that?
Yeah, so it's not the most efficient way to, I think, select a vendor. But I think in the long term, it really helps you find a partner and a solution that you can stick with, right? Because the flip side is you can select one vendor, but you're also very familiar with dealerships that will switch vendors every 3 to 6 months, right? Because they are not happy with the product that they selected. And I think one of the other benefits that I realized was during the bake-off or the Pepsi challenge, the vendors will really, really make sure that you are taken care of, right? In terms of some of the things you need, custom work, because they're still trying to earn your business, right? So I think in that sense, it was very helpful.
Okay, so what did you learn throughout this process?
Our main purpose of using an AI agent is to help our BDC agents to be more effective, meaning they are able to handle way more leads without a drop in quality. So for example, ever since we've implemented an AI agent, our centralized BDC now handles 50% more leads. I think each BDC agent is now at around 300 leads a month versus I think an industry average around 200, while still maintaining a 99% plus contact rate without also a loss in effectiveness. So, that was what I was looking for, right? An AI solution that can help empower and make our sales or BDC agents a lot more effective. So that was our number one goal. And then throughout the process, what I learned is that obviously there was a winner, but I realized that vendors who are willing to provide help in this process and be a partner with you is really the type of vendor that you want to work with. So, for example, at our dealership, I'm one of 3 people at the corporate level outside of HR and accounting that work on these corporate level initiatives, right? So in order to do a bake-off, in order to make sure that the AI agent is implemented properly, I need help from our vendor partners to do audits, to help tweak the product, to communicate with our BDC managers, to train our BDC agents, sometimes in person. And there was a vendor that clearly did this really well for us, which was Impel. That's who we decided to go with because their product was good. And also at the same time, they provided exceptional service and worked as a partner to work through some of the challenges, including trying to add a Southern twang to our AI chat agents because our dealerships are in the South.
That's awesome. So you mentioned you've implemented these agents, which you just spoke about, and that has gone into your BDC. Have you done anything else when it comes to AI, or is that the primary use case today at your dealership? Look, I'm trying to get you built dealership technology beforehand, and so I'm trying to understand what have been the biggest wins for you. It seems like agents have been a big win for you based on what you're describing. Has there been anything else that you've implemented that has been a major win throughout this learning process?
Outside of sales agent AI, another thing that we're currently working on is putting an LLM or an AI layer on top of our data warehouse, right? So that is still a project that we're working on.
Being able to query or search all your data and ask anything. Find me all the customers that purchased red cars under 30,000 miles during Christmas in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and this I have a funny story about this. I mean, there's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because I get a lot of phone calls from our general managers who are amazing at what they do, but they will also call me one day a lot of the times and be like, "Hey, Daniel, I'm not selling any cars this week. What's going on?" Right? What do I need to focus on to sell more cars this week? And I joke that I'm going to replace my phone number with an AI chatbot that they will text, and the AI chatbot will respond to them and say,
"Hey, I'm not selling cars. What's the problem?" And it crunches my entire everything.
Right?
It's your close rate has dropped significantly. Da da da.
Exactly. Hey, we noticed that your appointment set to shown is quite low. Are you confirming your appointments? Things like that, right?
But we're laughing, but why is that not going to be the reality very soon? It seems
it will.
It seems like it's the lowest hanging fruit there is. You don't even need any new software. You kind of just need to, like you said, put an LLM or some, attach some software to your database, which I'm sure DMSs will do or someone.
Right, and essentially, the way I look at AI in the dealership world is, they are there to help assist, become tools for automotive dealer employees. So for our agents, essentially, what I noticed when I first went into the BDC was that our central BDC, they had a stopwatch. Every 6 minutes, people are checking all the leads in VIN Solutions and making sure that all the leads are responded to within 6 minutes. And a lot of the times, what our BDC agents would do is they would go in there and they see 6 leads that just came in, and they need to, respond as soon as possible. So what they end up doing is they will literally copy paste templates without really having the time to look at what the actual conversation is about, or without kind of gaining any kind of context or knowledge. And I don't blame them because they're just trying to do their job. Versus with an AI agent, it will look at the context of what the customer is looking for and actually respond in a much more meaningful and thoughtful way, and do it in under 30 seconds to a minute.
Do you think all dealers need a customer data platform nowadays? How important is this? Because you don't, like, in order to have a BDC sales agent that's AI, I don't need a CDP for that. So what do you think here is like, what's your opinion on just customer data platforms in general, based on dealer size and scale?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say more. I kind of call it the data operating system. I'm coining the term here on Car Dealership Guy, but to have a competitive edge in the future, you are going to have a complete set of data that you can run analysis on to understand what your business needs to do, as well as be able to target the right type of customers for you to be effective. The reason why I'm trying to get or I'm building out a CDP or a data platform from our dealership's perspective, meaning we own the data, is because then we can control a lot of the flow to other vendor partners, and we have way more choices in terms of how we activate these customers. Including some of the third-party platforms that are outside of automotive that wouldn't be accessible if you were to use a CDP that's built by a CDP company only specializing in the automotive industry.
And when you say you have more choices how to activate, what does this mean? Explain this to me in layman's terms.
Yeah, so for example, if you want to direct mail, right? Right now, you're going to have to work with a direct mail printing company, right? That will probably charge you, I would say, somewhere between, depending on the type of mail piece, $1.20 to maybe even $1.80 a piece, right? Per contact that they send to. Most of the time, these people will just find third-party data sources to send mailers to. If I have control over my own data, I could just go and work with a Silicon Valley tech company like Lob, who does one-to-one direct mail based on kind of the customer journeys that you could set, and at a much lower price, something like probably 80, even lower sometimes cents per send.
So Daniel, I am curious to know, like, what have just been the overall results you've seen from, you've implemented a CDP, right? You're working with AI agents. But at the end of the day, you mentioned your dealer principal, right? When you go and you chat with your dealer principal, like, what is that end result? How do you quantify that ROI?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. This is still month 6 of my job. So we are still in process in terms of working on a data platform. But how I envision it is there's a lot of manual processes and lack of immediate data availability for our dealer principal. So my number one goal, and it's launching probably end of this month, early next month, is to provide a enterprise level dashboard with the key important metrics that we can customize that can be readily accessible to all the leadership at our dealer group.
What do you think those metrics are going to be? Like, what KPIs are you tracking?
Oh, KPIs in terms of I would say I would start with the basics, right? What is literally, how many leads did you get? How many appointments were set? How many appointments were shown? How many people actually bought cars? What kind of cars? What was your front end gross, back end gross? Just kind of your key metrics, and then allowing them to understand which areas or which stores need help. Because that's kind of what our dealer principal does, right? He will go and visit stores that are not performing as well. And that type of data will give additional information for him to go there and be a lot more prescriptive about what the store needs to do to improve.
Yeah. So going quickly back to your AI bake-off, is there anything else you learned throughout that process? It seems like a super valuable learning process in general. But other than this, you made your selection, you implemented agentic or sales agents into your BDC, which will be my next question as well. What's that been like? But any other learnings throughout that process, just about AI within your store, right? Aiding employees, replacing employees. What that's been like.
Yeah. I mean, this is some of the things that I tell all our BDC agents is that, look, AI is not going to replace you. Maybe in the near distant future.
That's controversial, by the way. I've spoken with many people on this platform who have the opposite opinion. They say it is reducing my BDC. But many people agree with you as well. It's been very like 50-50.
All right. For me, I think people who know how to use AI are the ones that are going to be successful at the dealership. Right. So because right now we've got a process in our BDC department where our BDC agents need to work alongside AI to make sure that they're doing a good job. Right. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I kind of talk about is, hey, you have to learn how to use some of these AI platforms.
And just arm them with that and assume that you're going to have the same headcount, just a more efficient headcount. Is that the idea?
Yes. And to that point, we might need less people, right? So with AI, I look at it as, handling a little bit less like lower value tasks, such as
correct
that first initial response. Voice AI is still, some might not be that far away, but it's still not very good because it's a lot harder to implement. And so what I've started doing is with our BDC agents, they're now just focusing on phone calls in the first 24 hours of the lead coming in, plus assisting as opposed to back then sending texts, sending emails.
Oh, you're just focused on one channel, and I understand what you're saying.
Right, and I'm really focusing on the call inputs plus helping AI agents when they need help. And then also having my BDC department focus on the first 72 hours and then allowing AI to kind of go focus on the longer term follow-up.
Got it. Daniel, has your marketing mix changed since you've started using, sales agents? I just think logically, right? If I can respond at a much lower cost to every lead, am I more inclined to work with every single listing site to claw every lead I can into the ecosystem because I get more shots at net? Has any of that been part of your decision making? Have you changed your marketing mix? Tell us about that.
Yeah. We've drastically reduced our advertising per vehicle spend as a group. That's something that I'm very proud of. We've reduced our advertising per vehicle spend by $200 per car, which I think is very significant. Part of it is kind of the background that I've had in terms of understanding value and looking for vendors who are going to provide us with opportunities at a fair price. And then on the flip side, through process and implementing AI agents, we've been able to increase our lead to conversion rate by 20%. Right, so we're spending less and we have less leads that are coming in, but we're currently selling more cars than we did before because we're a lot more efficient with the leads that we have.
Got it. Spending less, fewer leads, more efficient with current leads. Marketing mix, has it changed? Have you turned up the dial on any marketing? And I understand you're spending less in aggregate. Are you spending more on specific things or the same?
Yeah, I would say we've been a lot more targeted with third-party listing sites.
So all in all, I think here's how I would summarize this, right? You implemented sales agents. For you, it's been very successful. You've pretty much, like you said, you're letting your team focus on phone as a primary channel, and the rest you're going to your sales agents for the first 24 hours. As part of that process, right, you have implemented a customer data platform. You are structuring your data so you can use it in more ways. Am I missing something? Right? Like what are the skeletons in the closet here? Like what don't I know about how you've gone through a pretty rigorous process that you've had this bake off, right? What am I missing? Like What am I not asking you here, or what don't we know that we should? Why is every dealer not doing this yesterday?
Just lack of resources and trying to manage my time. So, for example, we are going through an entire dealership website revamp, including figuring out all the GTM tags that are slowing our site, to improving our call to action buttons, to improving our speed. And it's so much, right? I think one of the things that I learned in on the retail side when I came in was, I don't think there is a specific complex, like very complex concept per se, but there are many concepts that you have to learn and get used to. And there's so many different things that you need to pay attention to. And that's been kind of my biggest struggle, right? Because I've got all of these things that I want to do, right? I'm a tech founder. I know technology, but then, it's just this struggle to find the right way to get to where I need to without having internal staff members that I can rely on.
Totally.
And I think that's the biggest difference that I see.
What departments are you primarily using these agents, and you kind of injecting AI? Is it all departments like sales, service, BDC, or are you just focused on some departments specifically?
Yeah, just on the sales and service BDC currently.
Daniel, in what way did you try AI in service?
Yeah, I think the service AI, it might have been the vendor that we decided to go with previously, but it just blew up on us in terms of just the confusion it caused the customers. Didn't really decrease our call volume. Maybe scheduled some appointments. Couldn't really figure out in terms of giving status updates on cars, and it was just not a effective experience for us. So we've put a pause on it. We will revisit it in the future. Versus, I think on the sales side, one, it's more text reliant. So I think it's more baked as of today. And I think there's solutions out there that can really help augment your BDC or sales department on the lead follow-up side of things.
Mm-hmm. So what's next? Like, what do you focus? I didn't ask you time frame of how recently you've implemented this, but I'm curious, now that you have your stores running this way, what's the next project for you? Like, where's your focus shifting to?
Yeah, so we've just launched our data warehouse. We have DMS and CRM data in a relatively manageable way. Four Eyes has been really helpful in that sense, in helping us get there, alongside with Impel, because they have a partnership. And with that, I'm now in the process of putting two things on top of it: a BI layer and a LLM model on top of our data warehouse. So what that means is BI layer, because the biggest frustration that I had was every time I tried to pull reports from my CRM platform, I wanted to shoot myself. I'm a very analytics heavy person, and just the lack of flexibility, how long it took to update every time I try to create a new report, outdated UI, just really wanted to, made me want to, bang my head against the computer. That was kind of the reason why I wanted to create a data warehouse, bolt on a business intelligence tool on top that I can share with leadership, so that everybody is on the same page and they know what is expected of them. Because if you don't measure it, then how do you know you're successful? And then afterwards, work on a platform where now we can use LLM models to first teach it to understand what the data means, right? Because if it doesn't have any context around what a vehicle is or where to look for vehicles or customers or things like that, then the data is kind of useless. But once we have that, then using an LLM model to provide insight and support to the greater staff that works at our dealership group.
Well, we'll have to get you back on the platform to tell us how that went, because it sounds like you're working on quite the fun project. One quick question there. You mentioned you want to put like a business intelligence tool over your data. What does that look like? Or like, what are you actually using for that?
Yeah, so we have our data warehouse in Snowflake. So Snowflake is a pretty it's a pretty well used data warehouse, and you know, to the people who are listening to this podcast, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? You know, obviously happy to tell you how I did it too, but like it's not like I'm in there writing code for all this stuff, right? I am finding the right partners to help me with this. So just want to kind of make that clear. On top of Snowflake, it's not very difficult to put on a BI tool like you know, Tableau or Power BI from Microsoft, or you know, there's a little cheap little like data platform
visualization tool.
Correct. Yeah, a way to kind of query data and then show graphs and charts and whatnot. So we have that set up now. So then once I have that, then I have to create actual reporting by querying the data.
All right, Daniel, this has been very interesting, man. So appreciate you kind of filling us in on your selection process. And we'll definitely want to do a follow-up with you in the future as you implement all these other visualization tools and ultimately, you know, get to the brass tacks of show me the money.
For sure.
I want to understand, you know, how business has gone up. Leave us off with like one piece of advice for anyone listening to this that kind of heard about your entire process. Like, what's one piece of advice you can leave us with?
Put in the time and do the research, right? The issue that I have sometimes in our industry, like we I think everybody means well, but sometimes there's a lot of noise, right? You know, one of the things that I always talk about too is, do you remember digital retailing?
I do.
Yeah. You know, I think we got so caught up with the software and we totally forgot about process, right? Which was actually the more important part of digital retailing. And I feel like with CDPs, that's kind of what's happened. Everybody just got excited about being able to target, you know, that person who didn't buy a car from you but serviced with you and now looked at a Hyundai Palisade on your website and I want to get to that guy, right? So they'll find some, you know, we'll find some vendor as a dealer to help me get to it. But in essence, it's not about really the activation. It's really about setting up your data properly. And there, unfortunately, I think isn't a lot of ability to capitalize on the ability to just send data to a dealership. So I think vendors are less focused about it. But I think there are vendors who exist currently out there who are more aligned with kind of what's good for the dealership in the long run, even though it might not sound as sexy or be the new next shiny thing. So I think that's kind of what, you know, what I would encourage everyone to focus on is, look, you know, what is the real objective that we're trying to get to, which is ownership of data, because that is what's going to help your dealership win in the future, and find the right vendors if you don't have internal capabilities. And you know, I'll say there are other dealerships out there like Champ, for example. Right, they've got a huge team, you know, and it's amazing that they were able to implement it, and kudos to them. But you know, we're not there. A lot of dealerships don't have that capability, and if you're in that kind of boat, then really finding the right partners to be able to implement some of the things you need to do, I think, is what's most important.
Well said. Daniel Kim, Barnes Crossing Auto Group. Daniel, thanks for joining us on the podcast. It's been awesome.
All right. Thank you, Yossi.